this is one of the things I love talking about that transferred from the stage, but we still do it virtually. And it's about taking the pulse. Now, this can be clients or customers, but this can also be employees. This could be subordinates. This can actually be relationships. That people are in one of three categories. They're either ecstatic, static, or they're vulnerable. Now, the ecstatic ones, this is where everybody wants to be because this is where referrals happen. So we hook this into, depending on what the client wants for their event. So we talk about referrals is one of the big things they want. So we talk about that's the referral zone. But the problem is there's a perception issue, right? There's a lot of studies out there, and some of them say about 82% of companies think they give exemplary customer service, and 12% of customers feel they receive it. That's called a gap in perception and actuality. And the majority of people are usually in the middle and static. And we call that's the F word of the industry, which is fine. How is the speaker for the event? If you ever email a client and say, how did Scott do? And say, he was fine. We have a huge problem. And the problem is fine is a very Canadian word, right? We're passive aggressive in person and we're not, when you walk away. That's our talent. We're really good at these things. We use fine as a way to get out of conflict or a way to get out of a negative type of story. So we said it was fine. Nothing is fine. Okay. Everybody in here right now, you're on this grid somewhere working with Speaker Spotlight. I know you're all ecstatic because I love them. And I love you. But everybody's here somewhere. And this isn't always the company's fault, by the way. There's always external factors that deal with it as well. But the goal here is to figure out how do we move them up and higher before they hit vulnerable, which means they're almost pretty much out the door. But you don't know unless you find out, unless you check the pulse. And this is one of the most useful exercises we've used that's transferred between when we used to do consulting to any kind of topic that we've talked about has been this. Before you start trying to improve employee retention or client retention, customer retention, anything, your relationship, whatever it is, these three words. You just ask them, what should we stop doing? What should we start doing? What should we continue doing to ensure that we meet your needs from now until the end of time? Not that dramatic, but something like that. And why you ask this is because it gives very focused answers. And the trick here is you're hoping for not too much stop or too much start. And you're hoping for a lot of continue because that means they're really happy. But the key is you actually want the answers. Because if you find the answers before it gets too big of a problem, then you don't end up having that problem in the first place. And it's looking for those signals, those blips where it goes up and down on the chart. We did this with a client 13, 14 years ago, a private school in downtown Toronto, in Fieldstone Private School. And they brought us in and we did a survey with other parents. And these parents are paying a good chunk of money to send their children to this school. And they put this out there and they were not getting the renewals they wanted every year. It was slowly dropping and they didn't know why. I said, have you asked? And they're like, no. And we sent this to all parents. Okay, the next day, all parents got this. And in 24 hours, they had a 97% response rate. I've never even heard of that. In anything, by the way. If you offer people free houses, free money, I don't think you'd get 97% still, just from a margin of error. They were so immediate and so starved to give this feedback. And also they were paying money and it's their children. So it was a very focused market we were sending it to. They made the changes and their retention went up. They're also pointed. They're open. I don't like 1 to 10, let me know. Because I don't know the difference between a 7 and a 6. I don't know how to change that improvement. It's just a number. And it's a subjective number. But with this, then they can point it out. So if you talk to a client, maybe it's a new one especially, and you say, well, how did the event go? And what would you like us to stop, start, and continue doing to ensure that we are there for you? So it could be, I wish you got back to me quicker, or I wish the speaker did this, or I wish that. And then you can also pass that feedback along to them. Because the worst type of complaint you can have is one you do not hear. That's the whole sentence. That is the most important sentence I can possibly say right now. Because we don't usually are forthcoming with it a lot of the times. And we want to find out before they're at a boiling point, an all caps point of an email. We want to find out.